Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play the entirety of this video, and then I'll go back and talk about things that are going on to better explain what's going on, and things that I think that were done right and or done wrong. For the first 30 minutes of this video will be the video that comes from the Denver Police Department. When they released this video, it was 30 minutes and 48 seconds long. So for the first 30 minutes is what comes from them. After the 48 minute mark, is when I'll go back into it and start talking about things. So this is going to be a long video. Without further ado, here we go.
Hello, my name is Matt Clark, and I'm the commander of the Denver Police Department's Major Crimes Division. This critical incident debriefing is intended to provide you with information regarding an officer-involved shooting that occurred in the 8800 block of East Colfax Avenue in Northeast Denver on Sunday, June 13th, 2021. You are about to see relevant video footage and learn about other evidence and police procedures related to the case, so you have an understanding of the details of this incident. The use of deadly force by a police officer demands a thorough investigation be completed. The Denver Police Department is committed to ensuring a full and timely investigation of these serious incidents. This allows for a comprehensive examination of the officer's actions to determine compliance with state statutes and department policies. In accordance with legislation passed in 2015, the investigation of police shootings in Denver are conducted by a multi-agency investigative team made up of members from the Denver and Aurora Police Department homicide units, as well as the Denver District Attorney's Office. All critical incident investigations are actively monitored by the Office of the Independent Monitor. A word of caution: the images and information you are about to see may be disturbing. When a police officer uses force to arrest a suspect or defend against an attack, it can be graphic and difficult to watch. In addition, there may be strong language used by those shown in the video. Viewer discretion is advised. On Sunday, June 13, 2021, at approximately 5:30 p.m., an individual called 911 to report a male was firing a handgun at a white Mercedes that was parked in the 1500 block of North Ulster Street. The caller provided a description of the male, who was later identified as 30-year-old Duane Manzanares.
What's the address of your emergency?
All right, this guy was shooting at a white Mercedes. I'm on Colfax and Uena. It's a Hispanic male with a gray shirt, blue jeans. He's about the age between 25 and 30.
Uniformed Denver police officers promptly responded and located the described vehicle on Ulster Street. Upon examining the vehicle and the surrounding area, officers located multiple bullet shell casings and bullet defects in the Mercedes. An officer met with the 911 caller and confirmed the information that had been provided. The witness provided a description of Mr. Manzanares and advised he was walking eastbound on Colfax. While an officer remained with the witness to obtain additional information, other uniformed patrol officers began driving in the area, attempting to locate Mr. Manzanares. Officer Ryan Nelson and Officer Christine Abrams were working together in a marked Denver police vehicle. The two officers were traveling westbound on East Colfax Avenue when they observed Mr. Manzanares walking eastbound. Mr. Manzanares was on the south side of the street, approaching Yosemite Street. Officer Abrams observed the grip of a handgun sticking out of the back of Mr. Manzanares' waistband. The observation of the firearm was communicated to her partner and to other responding officers. Around that time, uniformed officers Samuel Bailey and Stephen Whiteman arrived in the area in a marked Denver police vehicle. Both officers observed Mr. Manzanares and recognized he matched the description of the subject. The officers saw the firearm tucked into the right rear side of Mr. Manzanares' waistband. The officers made a U-turn and positioned their vehicles in the eastbound lanes of East Colfax Avenue to contact Mr. Manzanares. When officers contacted Mr. Manzanares, he was standing on the sidewalk just west of Yosemite Street at the entrance to a parking lot. The officers exited their vehicles and drew their duty handguns, directing them towards Mr. Manzanares. Mr. Manzanares began consuming alcohol from a small container he was carrying and questioned why he was being contacted.
Put your hands up!
Officers gave clear direction to Mr. Manzanares to keep his hands up and put his hands on his head so his hands would not be near the visible firearm. Mr. Manzanares did not comply with this direction. Officer Whiteman verbally acknowledged the presence of Mr. Manzanares' firearm as he attempted to direct Mr. Manzanares' movements and de-escalate the situation. Mr. Manzanares became agitated and argumentative.
You got a gun right there. Don't reach for it.
Did I reach for it?
No.
Mr. Manzanares discarded the bottle of alcohol he consumed onto the street. He then moved his right hand towards his waist while moving his left hand behind his back. The officers feared Mr. Manzanares was retrieving the firearm to shoot at them or others in the immediate area. At that time, Officer Samuel Bailey, Officer Ryan Nelson, and Officer Stephen Whiteman discharged their weapons multiple times. The officers stopped firing their weapons when they believed Mr. Manzanares no longer posed a threat. Several of the rounds that were fired struck Mr. Manzanares, and he fell to the ground. Officers approached Mr. Manzanares, removed the firearm from his waistband, and began rendering medical aid, to include the application of multiple tourniquets and pressure to his wounds. Mr. Manzanares was transported to a local hospital by ambulance where he was pronounced deceased. Following a police shooting, any officers involved in the incident are separated and assigned to a supervisor once the situation is stabilized. Involved officers remain in the company of the assigned supervisor throughout the initial investigation of the incident. Through the investigation, it was determined that the 3 officers fired a total of 11 rounds. A round fired by an officer struck the tire of a vehicle that was parked in the parking lot of the restaurant. Unbeknownst to the officers, this vehicle was occupied by 2 individuals at the time of the shooting. Neither occupant was injured by the round that struck the tire. Investigators processed the initial scene on Ulster Street and recovered 4 .45 caliber shell casings near the vehicle. Additionally, multiple defects were documented in the vehicle. The firearm that was recovered from Mr. Manzanares was an H&K USP .45 caliber semi-automatic handgun with 1 round in the chamber and 6 bullets in the magazine. All officers assigned to uniform patrol duties in Denver have been issued body-worn cameras. These devices are generally worn at chest level by patrol officers and are capable of recording both audio and video. Prior to being activated by the officer, the body-worn camera maintains a 30-second video buffer. Once the officer activates the camera, the 30-second buffer video is captured, and the camera starts recording both audio and video. It is important to note that a body-worn camera captures a general perspective of what is in the camera's view. However, this footage may or may not be what the officer actually saw or perceived. At times, an officer's movement or hand positioning may inadvertently block the camera's view. Additionally, the camera may not capture light in the same way as an officer's eye. All 3 involved officers were wearing body-worn cameras and had them activated during their interaction with Mr. Manzanares. Here is the relevant raw body camera footage that was captured by the involved Denver police officers' body-worn cameras. Again, viewer discretion is advised.
Put your hands up. Hey, backdrop, Nelson. Get back, get back. Hey, put your hands on top. I don't want to shoot you. I don't want to shoot you. Hey, I don't want to shoot you, Bug. Listen, put your hands on your head. I don't want to shoot you. You got a gun right there. Don't reach for it.
Did I reach for it?
No.
Put your hands in
No.
the air.
Hands out, bud. Hands out, bud. Hands out to the side.
Colfax in Yosemite, Colfax.
Hands out to the side.
Fire traffic on 2.
Hands out to the side, buddy.
Is anybody down?
Officers are code 4, we got suspect down.
You ready? You ready?
Clear. We have suspect down.
Hey, I got hands.
On the left. Weapons on the left.
I got hands. I got hands on.
This hand. Get this fucking.
I got hands on. Hold on, get some gloves.
Baker, I am on scene. 40 Baker, got you on scene at 7644.
Get the fucking gun.
Hold on. I'll get them started, code 10.
Yep.
Step back right side.
40 Baker, I'm going to hold this thing up here with this car. You'll be
Get
down
him
there
rolled.
with you.
Get him rolled. Let's get him rolled. Hey, you got that hand, Nelson? You got gloves?
There's a transceiver starting emergency medical on our party. Here, and you want us to start Aurora, or we just... We are in right now. Okay, sir.
Start working at anything, or is it? It's all upper. It's all upper chest.
All upper body,
so,
yeah.
Yeah. Can we roll them onto the side so we can get some treatment? Yeah.
Okay, to notify emergency medical that we have GSW. Hey guys, here.
Nothing on the arm. I can't check that leg.
All right, throw me a tourniquet. Anybody got a tourniquet on?
Yeah, right here. Three shot.
High shot.
High shot.
4.
You got 4. You didn't?
Okay, 4 officers involved.
If we're secure on his weapons, that's
Yeah.
I got 2 in the leg. You need another tourniquet? No, we're good.
Here, let me get inside.
We're going to have approximately 15
Can we pack any of his chest?
Yes, he's got fucking wound in the intestines too. Starting to get some leakage out of that.
All right, when she takes his cuffs off, we'll go.
Let's roll him back over.
Stand by. Let me get this other cuff real quick.
Nelson, you good?
Okay, we'll get started that way.
Hey, handcuffs are off. We can roll.
All right, throw him on his stomach.
Watch his head. Watch his head.
I got evidence right here.
540 Baker, go ahead.
Hey, he's got a wound in the arm too. Let's get a fucking tourniquet in that. Here. I got.
40 Baker, stop traffic at Xenia, pull back or eastbound. We also need to stop traffic at Yosemite, pull back.
Here, I'll take this. You take tourniquet.
We're gonna have to get it as high as we can. It's upright.
I'm Pembroke, Xenia, Colfax eastbound, and Yosemite and Colfax. Don't have any cars able to assist with that. We also are getting help from other districts. And 240, the Colfax is
Your gunshot wound right there as well.
Yep.
We're now on back up like the circle street.
Hey, Sarge, time on CAD for 2 tourniquets.
Get on back
Really
up like
shut the fuck up. Hey, can you push my glasses up for me?
40 Baker, we're going to do it.
Hey, give me some more. Give me some more gauze. I'm gonna try to pack this leg wound.
Hey, stay with us, buddy. Stay with us, all right? Keep fighting, man. Stay with us, okay? Yep. Just so you know, sorry, I got the yep. There was one that came up. Anything else?
Not that I can see.
Hey, who's gonna ride? Or we need to stay here, huh?
Yeah, we gotta stay here.
We have medical on scene. We have an available officer that can ride in the ambulance now.
No. You guys get a pulse.
I got a pulse. You got anything?
Oh, there they go.
Hey, we got a thready pulse.
Train pulse, at least 4 GSWs.
I'm turning with you again. I have a traffic blackout in Colfax, Xenia.
Alright.
Clear Colfax, Xenia.
Yes, you'll have one.
Can you hold that stable for me? Yep.
And of course, we have tag
Your hand on the
available.
pulse, please.
And we have tag 2 available now for all other traffic.
Hey, I'm not feeling the pulse.
Outside of
Go ahead.
I felt it in the neck.
Roll to the right.
Rolling this way.
Roll to the right. We got a bullet for that.
We got one in the abdomen, one up here, one like right underneath the tourniquet.
Clear on the PTA notification.
Alright. Got one in the feet.
40 Baker, we're going to need at least 2 more supervisors for
Officer
this
riding
officer
again.
as well as officer transfer.
3 shotgun.
540 Baker.
Disregard.
And 540 Baker, are you still on?
She got a seizure, so I'm her CNA.
Hey, we need another bus.
I'm her CNA though, but
Yep, I'm calling an ambulance.
A bus code that we got seizures. Plus
We got
10.
seizures in the car. She saw the shooting. Had a seizure.
You okay?
Josué, ¿estás bien?
Baker, we're going to need a second medical for a party having seizures. Not involved in the shooting, just visual.
You need to start putting up tape. Let's do
second medical started for.
Let's do this. I don't want to get them stuck in the scene. We'll do. We'll hold off for now. Just want to hang out here so nobody comes this way.
30 Baker, we need a cold pack and he's now blocked his hands here.
Who's riding down?
Where's your or he's found cold pack blocked. Can you have somebody do that?
You guys are all good? We're good, Sergeant. Did you shoot at you guys? Scene secure.
Put your hands up. Put your hands up. Put your hands up. Put them up. Put them up.
Put your hands up. Hey, back
Put your hands up.
Back up.
Hey. Put your hands up. Put your hands in the air. Put your hands in the air.
I don't want to shoot you, bud. Listen.
Put your hands in the air.
I don't want to shoot you. You got a gun right there. Don't reach for it.
No, put your hands in the air. Shots fired, shots fired.
Hands out, bud. Hands out, bud. Hands out to the side. Hands out to the side. Hands out to the side, buddy.
Is anybody down?
Right, ready to move up? Ready to move up?
Hey, I got hands. I got hands. I got hands.
I got this hand. Get his fucking. I got hands on. Hold this. Get the fucking gun.
Coming 10.
Back right side.
You got close to your mind.
You want us to start Aurora, or are we good? Okay, sir.
Can we start working a tourniquet, guys, on anything, or is it?
It's all upper body.
Upper torso. Can we roll them onto the side so we can get some breathing in? Yeah.
Hey guys, here.
Nothing on the arm. I can't check that leg.
Throw me a tourniquet. Anybody got a tourniquet?
Three shot.
I shot.
I shot.
I didn't shoot.
Yeah, we can uncouple.
Yeah, I got two in the leg.
You need another tourniquet?
No, we're good.
Okay. Here, let me give you some of that. Curlex.
What's up?
We pack any of his chest?
Yes, he's got fucking wound in the chest and the sternum. Starting to get some leakage out of that.
All right, when she takes his cuffs off,
Let's roll him back over.
Stand by.
All right.
Let me get this other.
Nelson, you good?
Yeah.
Okay, handcuffs are off. We can roll.
All right, roll him on his stomach.
Watch his head, watch his head.
I got evidence right here.
540 Baker, go ahead.
Hey, he's got a wound in the arm, too. Let's get a fucking tourniquet in that. Here.
I'm keeping pressure down, so you gotta undo this.
Here, I'll take this, you take tourniquet.
We're gonna have to get it as high as we can. It's upright in this fucking
Yeah,
arm.
it is.
You Colfax eastbound in Yosemite and Colfax. Don't have any cars able to assist with that. We also get help from other districts. And 240.
Gunshot wound right there as well.
Yep.
Hey, Sarge, time to get tourniquets.
548, 1748.
Hey, give me some more gauze. I'm trying to pack this leg in.
Hey, stay with us, buddy. Stay with us, all right? Keep fighting, man. Stay with us, okay? Just so you know, Sarge, I got the, yep. There was, hey, Sarge, there was one in the chamber.
Anything else?
Not that I can see.
Hey, who's gonna ride? Or we need to stay here, huh?
We need to stay.
Yeah, we gotta stay here.
We have medical on scene. We have an available officer that can ride in the ambulance now.
No. You guys get a pulse.
You got anything?
No. He's not breathing either. Oh, barely, yeah.
Hey, we got
a faint pulse. Faint pulse. Faint pulse, at least 4 GSW wounds.
Yes, you will have one.
Can you hold that stable for me? Keep your hand on the pulse, please.
Yeah, I'm not feeling the pulse now.
Okay, go ahead. Let's get
I
him
felt it in
loaded.
the neck.
Roll him to the right.
Roll this way.
Roll him to the right.
We got a bullet in the back.
Yep.
We got one in the abdomen, one up here, one like right underneath the tourniquet.
Gotcha. All right. Got one in the feet. I'm up. Can I get an officer riding, I guess?
Yes, you will.
Slide that down. Disregard. I give you 2 straps. There's no strap up top. You guys good? Yeah. Hey, Connor. Go check out that big in that vehicle. Is that a quote-unquote seizure? Let's at least get him checked out.
Who's riding down?
But don't delay too long. I just got cars over here.
Yeah, I do. Go ahead, send him back.
Hands up!
Yeah, the gun in his right.
Hands up! Hands fucking up right now! Hands up!
Yosemite, Colfax, Yosemite, need code 10 cover. Traffic on 2.
Put your hands up right fucking now!
242, David. What they're doing. 243 out of them.
Shots fired.
Colfax in Yosemite, Colfax in team, we have shots fired, traffic on 2. Is anybody down?
Hey, let me know when you're ready.
Ready?
Yep. Weapons on the left. Weapons on the left.
I got hands.
Here, I got this hand. Get his fucking.
I got hands on. Hold on, get some gloves.
Baker, I am on team. 40 Baker got you on team at 7244.
Get the fucking gun.
Hold on.
I'll get the start.
Yeah.
The back right side.
40 Baker, I'm holding the car down there with you.
Let them roll. You're on scene with starting. How are you?
Anything you wanted to start Aurora, or are we good? Okay, sir.
Hey, we got a medical kit in the back of this. Hey guys, here.
Hold the arm. I can't check that leg. I just saw the
Throw me a tourniquet. Anybody got a tourniquet on?
Yeah, right. 3 shot.
I shot.
I shot.
I got 4.
If we're secure on his weapons,
Yeah, we can uncuff him.
I got 2 in the leg.
You need another tourniquet?
Now we're good.
Okay. Here, let me give me some of that Curlex.
What's up? Can we pack any of his chest?
Yes, he's got fucking wound in the intestines too. Starting to get some leakage out of that.
All right, when she takes his cuffs off, we'll go.
Let's roll him back over.
Stand by.
All right.
Nelson, you good?
Okay, handcuffs are off. We can roll.
All right, roll him on his stomach.
Watch his head. Watch his head.
I got evidence right here.
40 Baker, go ahead.
Hey, he's got a wound in the arm too. Let's get a fucking tourniquet in that. Here.
I got.
You got it?
Pressure down. So you gotta do this.
Let's get this all the way out.
I'll take this. You take tourniquet.
We're gonna have to get it as high as we can. It's up right in his fucking arm.
Senior Colfax eastbound in Yosemite and Colfax.
Pull that fucking.
Any cars able to assist with that? We also get help from other districts. And 240.
The gunshot wound right there as well.
Yep.
Hey, Sarge, time on cab for 2 tourniquets. Hey, give me some more dogs. I'm trying to pack this leg chest.
Hey, stay with us, buddy. Stay with us, all right? Keep fighting it. Stay with us, okay?
Yep.
Just so you know, Sarge, I got the yep. There was, hey, Sarge, there was one in the chamber.
Anything else?
Not that I can see.
Hey, who's gonna ride? We need to stay here.
Yeah, we gotta stay here.
We have medical on team. We have an available officer that can ride in the ambulance now.
No. You guys get a pulse.
You got anything?
Hey,
We got a faint pulse. Faint pulse. Faint pulse, at least 4 GSW wounds.
Yes, you'll have one.
Can you hold that stable for me?
And also we have tags available. we have Tag 2 available now for all of the traffic outside of the shooting, and Tag 2
I felt it in the
available
net.
for all of the traffic.
Rolling this way.
Rolling to the right. We got a bullet in the back. Yep.
You got one in the abdomen, one up here, one like right underneath the tourniquet.
Gotcha. All right. Got one in the feet. I'm up. Can I get an officer riding, I guess?
Yes, you will. Are you riding? Yeah. Okay.
The Denver District Attorney will review the details of this incident and determine if the officer's actions were in compliance with Colorado law. After the District Attorney renders a decision, the Denver Police Department's Internal Affairs Bureau and Conduct Review Bureau will complete an administrative review of this case. The details of the case will be presented to a Use of Force Review Board, which is made up of community members and police command officers. This board will determine whether the actions of the Denver police officers were in compliance with the high standards expected of every Denver police officer related to policies, training, and tactics. For additional information regarding the investigation of critical incidents or the Denver Police Department's use of force policies, you may visit denvergov.org/police. Thank you for taking the time to view this critical incident debriefing.
All right, let's get into it. So that was a long video, very long. Let's get into the very beginning of it. So first, I can't remember if it was the first thing I noticed or not, but one thing that really stuck out to me is this guy had a nice gun. Real nice. H&K. You often do not see nice guns like this being used by bad guys. It's a nice gun. This is H&K. You're more often to find Glocks and Springfields and, Tauruses and, guns like that. And, out of the ones I mentioned, Glock is a good fighting gun. The other ones are of lesser quality and they're cheaper. And you will often see guns like that being used by bad guys. Because you buy a cheap gun, you buy a cheap Taurus, there's more of those that are going to be out there in the wild. And so more people having Taurus pistols, more people having Springfield pistols means that when bad guys go and steal shit, you're going to see more of those kind of guns out there. And Glock, like I said, is a good fighting gun. It's not cheap. It's not super expensive. It's kind of there in the middle, I guess you could say. Most people can attain them. And it's a very popular gun. And because it's very popular, lots of them out there, just so happens a lot of them get stolen. Guns like this, H&K pistols, they're not cheap. You got to pay a little bit extra to get a gun like this. And usually when someone pays more money for something, they generally take care of that. And for example, I have an HK. And I have just like this, HK USP. It's a safe queen. I used to carry it back in the day. I don't carry it anymore. And it's taken its little spot inside my safe. In fact, the HK USP I have was my first handgun ever. And my dad got it for me. So it sits in the safe. It's a little safe queen. But yeah, you typically don't see guns like this being used by criminals. So I thought that was really interesting to see an H&K being held by someone on the wrong side of the law. Jump into the first video. Are we getting into the first video or? Yeah. All right. So I had mentioned once before in the video, actually more than one videos, talking about microphones and mounting options, or talking about like a remote push the talk button on the steering wheel or on the console, and I was talking about these microphones and how kind of a pain it is sometimes when you're focused on something to click it into something. That little mount on the back, you got to click it down into a little mounting spot and then unclick it. This one appears to have a magnet on the back. I was trying to pause it right at the right moment. I don't think I'm going to pause it at the right moment to be able to get that good visual on it. But it does appear to me that it might have a magnet on the back, and he's taking this magnet and he's hitting the metal mount right here, and it's just staying in place because you don't see him do the standard click it into its little holder. So these are actually pretty cool products, and I would recommend spending I forget how much they are, but I would recommend getting something like that if you don't have a good setup for your microphone in your vehicle. It's a lot better than the little clicky option, in my opinion. So this guy, he's drinking a little airport liquor bottle.
Put your hands up. Hey, backdrop, Nelson. Get back. Hey, put your hands on top. I don't want to shoot you. I don't want to shoot you. Hey, I don't want to shoot you, bud. Listen, put your hands on your head. I don't want to shoot you.
Very, very defiant, non-compliant whatsoever. He does have the gun on him. It's right back in there.
No. Put your hands in the air.
So he throws his empty bottle away, and then he reaches into his back pocket, and I believe he pulls out another bottle. So after watching multiple times, I think this guy was just getting another drink. But I only came to that conclusion based off my ability to hit replay multiple times. These officers do not have that luxury. They don't have the ability to, pull a Saved by the Bell Zach Morris and say time out and freeze everything, right? They don't have that ability. They can't hit rewind real quick after they see what's happening and then go back and be like, all right, we're gonna do this different. No, they get one shot. No pun intended. They get one take at this, and this quick movement this guy made, he's already got a gun on him.
No.
He's reaching behind him. He's grabbing something.
No.
They had no choice but to use deadly physical force, in my opinion. He's armed with the gun, and he's being non-compliant. He's being defiant, a bit of a jerk, and he reaches in behind him where they can't see very well, and he's grabbing something. They already know he's got a gun. It could have been a gun that he was going to grab. You don't have, in these fast situations, the luxury of being able to look and say, hey, this may be a gun. This may not be a gun. And they were forced to have to use that deadly physical force. If he had a gun, he could have pulled that gun out, brought it up, and started firing rounds before they could have returned fire. No, I have no problem with them using force like this. He forced their hand. You can hear, back it up.
Put your hands in the air.
You can hear that tire. You can hear the air escaping the tire from where one of their rounds missed and hit the tire.
Hands out, bud. Hands out, bud. Hands out to the side.
Notice these people over here in the parking lot. They're now very acutely aware of what's going on.
Hands out to the side. Hands out to the side, buddy.
Is anybody down?
Officers are code 4, we got suspect down.
You ready? You ready?
Clear, we have suspect down.
Hey, I got hands.
On the left. Weapons on the left.
And so you can see that little bottle down there. And back it up some.
You ready? You ready?
Clear, we have suspect down.
Hey, I got hands.
So this is what he pulled out of his back pocket, was this little liquor bottle.
On the left. Weapons on the left.
I got hands. I got hands on.
This hand. Get his fucking.
I got hands on. Hold on, get some gloves.
So they make the approach. They get on him.
Get his fucking.
This guy puts his foot, of course I
Hands on,
pause
hold on, get some
it,
gloves.
puts his foot on his hand to keep it pinned down. That's a good option. I like that option. Everyone else goes to put their gloves on.
40 Baker, I am on scene.
This is his death breath, in my opinion.
I am on scene. 40 Baker,
These are the last breaths that I think he takes.
40 Baker, I am on scene. 40 Baker, got you on scene at 7244.
Get the fucking gun.
Hold on. I'll get them started codes in.
Step back right side.
So he pulls the gun out, and then he lays it right there near this guy's hand. Not the best place to lay the suspect's gun, in my opinion. This guy recognizes it, and he kicks it away. Then they push him closer towards his own gun, so he keeps moving it away. Then you can see that this guy finally gets the idea to pick it up. And we'll see that later on in the next part of the video. So they handcuff him.
Okay, clear.
And a lot of people question why people are handcuffed after they've been shot. The reason people are handcuffed after they've been shot is sometimes people get back up after they've been shot. One of the most famous cases that's referenced a lot in training is an incident that occurred in Miami between the FBI and a couple of bank robbers / armored truck robbers. FBI is following these guys. They initiate a stop on them, and gunfight breaks out. One of the suspects takes a round to the head from a pistol during the very early part of the gunfight, temporarily knocks him out. He is able to later wake back up, crawl back out of his car, and then go jump into the car of an FBI agent and try to take off in it. The other guy, he takes a fatal wound to the side of his chest. Round goes into his heart area, but it does not immediately incapacitate him. He is able to keep on fighting. He kills 2 agents and seriously wounds others. And in the midst of doing this, he is shot multiple more times. And then he gets back in the vehicle and he takes more rounds. And after being shot inside the FBI agent's vehicle that him and his partner try to take off in, I believe that he's still alive after being shot multiple more times and doesn't fully die until a few minutes later. So, and that's like I said, that's the one case that's referenced a lot in firearms and law enforcement training. There's plenty of other cases across the nation where people have been shot and then they got back up. Pistol ammunition kind of sucks. It still works. It will kill people, no doubt about that. But when you compare pistol ammunition to rifle ammunition, there are a lot fewer people who get up and walk away after being hit with a rifle. And that's why I've always advocate, if you know you're going to a gunfight, you bring a rifle. And that's one thing I would have liked to have seen out of this group is someone have a rifle out on this guy. None of them did. That's pretty common within law enforcement. They're so heavily trained on pistols and use them so often, and they're usually, even though they get, firearms training from a fighting standpoint, they're not fully immersed into it, in my opinion. And so if they were, they would know, get a damn rifle out. But Pistols are used most often and pulled out most often, and with that being said, that's why you sometimes see more people get up after being shot by the police. If the police carried nothing but rifles all the time, you'd see a lot less of this, and you probably wouldn't see too many people getting handcuffed after being shot, because not that many people get up after being hit with a rifle. But they get cuffed because sometimes handgun ammo just doesn't do the job right. Got that one bullet hole right there in the stomach.
Nothing on the arm. I can't check that leg.
Throw me a tourniquet.
One on the leg.
Anybody got a tourniquet on?
Yeah, right.
So here we go with a knife. I've seen this before in another video, one of the previous videos that I've done with Denver police. You see them take not a fixed blade knife, but a folding knife, and they use it to cut away the shirt. Now, we'll see this in a different angle here in a little bit, but a knife is not the best option to use to take someone's clothing off. He goes to put on this tourniquet, but then quickly realizes he's not going to be able to go very far at the leg. So he unstraps it and then puts it back onto the leg and goes for high and tight. So I like the fact that he knows to put this thing high and tight. However, this guy does not have any profuse bleeding from these wounds. Arterial bleeding is what this tourniquet is used for, not just a little, cut in the leg. Arterial bleeding means we should see a lot more blood coming out of this guy. That's when you know to put on a tourniquet. When dealing with just simple puncture wounds. Now, if this was an amputation, you could have, in some instances, an amputation where that part of the amputated leg isn't pouring a whole lot of blood out. That's because a lot of the vessels and everything are still constricted from the shock, but once they start to loosen up, you can see a lot more blood coming out. But for simple stuff like this, I don't see the need to put a tourniquet on. He's just not bleeding enough to require the need for it. And this is actually something that's pretty common. You'll see people put on tourniquets for wounds that they're not needed for. But with that being said, I'm really happy to see that they got tourniquets.
Hey, handcuffs are off. We can roll.
All right, throw him on his stomach.
Watch his head, watch his head.
I got evidence right here.
540 Baker, go ahead.
I got it.
He said, I've got evidence right here, and that could either be the Fireball whiskey. Well, or this. This looks like it might be a bullet. Very well could be. Can't tell from the angle, but this looks like a projectile. So this could have gone through his leg, made it all the way through, went out the back of the leg, and then got caught by the pants. And when he took his pants off, this is where the bullet fell out of. So I can't tell 100% sure from this angle, but this looks like a bullet.
I got evidence right here.
And he points it out as evidence.
Hey, he's got a wound in the arm too. Let's get a fucking tourniquet in that. Here. I got.
Stop traffic at a convenience back or eastbound. We also need to stop traffic at Yosemite pullback.
Here, I'll take this. You take tourniquet.
We're gonna have to get it as high as we can. It's up right this
I've never seen you Colfax eastbound and Yosemite and Colfax. Don't have any cars able to assist with that. We also are getting help from other districts. And 240 and Colfax Yosemite.
There's a gunshot wound right there as well.
So he doesn't seem very confident in the use of this tourniquet. He just obviously knows the gist of how it works.
Yep.
Hey, Sarge, time on CAD for 2 tourniquets. Really shut the fuck up.
Oh no.
Hey, Sarge, time on CAD for 2 tourniquets. Whenever they shut the fuck up.
I think he said whenever they shut the fuck up. So there's always a lot of radio chatter during incidents when you don't need a shit ton of radio traffic. And this is one of those incidents where you just don't need a whole lot of people on the radio. In most places, when something critical happens, they hold traffic on the channel, and that's just for them. That's for them in that incident. You don't hear someone all the way across town trying to do a traffic stop on the channel when the traffic's being held for that channel. So I'm assuming that they held traffic on this radio, or I'm sorry, not this radio, this channel by now, or it could be that the traffic's held for that channel, but there's still someone who's talking a whole lot. Whenever traffic is held for a channel, that traffic that goes on in that channel needs to be short and sweet. It doesn't need to be long and drawn out. I've talked about this before in some other videos where there's lots and lots of talking. When it comes to the things like this, and I can't really understand everything that's being said on the radio, but there was one video, I can't remember which video it was, but it was one video where there was a lot of talking going on in the video or on the radio, and there was a lot of unnecessary talking, and people like that exist, and those people need to be told to shut the fuck up. They really do. We're not doing anyone any good service when we just kind of ignore it and let it go on, and then everyone makes jokes about it. Like, someone needs to have a serious conversation with the radio hogs and tell them, hey, you need to shorten your communications. You need to get off the air so much, because all that all that traffic on the air eats up airtime. And when you got someone sitting there jaw-jacking, reading a damn book, someone else needs to get on the radio and deliver a critical message. So if you've got the radio hogs on your team, in your agency, whatever, instead of everyone just kind of rolling their eyes every once in a while at this person and everyone cracking jokes, like, that shouldn't be a thing. Like, no one should have to roll their eyes at someone who talks too much on the radio. There shouldn't be any jokes about someone who talks enough on the radio. If that shit goes on, if there's a bunch of eye rolling that still goes on and a lot of jokes that go on about a person who talks too much on the radio, then someone in a leadership position isn't doing their fucking job. Someone in a leadership position needs to be telling this person who stays on the radio all the time to shut the fuck up. And in a situation like this, if that person had not been told beforehand, before a situation like this occurred, then they most definitely need to be told after an incident like this. And it needs to be put very clearly to them, hey, all that talking you did on the radio kept other people getting on the radio. Don't be afraid to hurt people's feelings. If they need to be told to shut up, tell them to shut up.
Hey, can you push my glasses up for me? Hey, give me some more gauze. I'm gonna try to pack this leg wound.
Hey, stay with us, buddy. Stay with us, all right? Keep fighting, man. Stay with us, okay? Yep.
So again, this hole right here, we don't see a whole lot of blood gushing out of it. So, and we never saw any blood gushing out before the application of the tourniquet.
Hey, we've got a thready pulse.
Faint pulse, at least 4 GSWs.
This woman says she could feel a pulse. I mean, that's possible, but at this moment, I really don't think this guy has a pulse. I think this guy's dead. It's hard to tell,
I felt it in the neck.
Roll to the right. Roll this way.
but it doesn't even appear as though he's breathing at all either.
Yeah, one in the abdomen, one up here. One, like, right underneath the tourniquet.
Clear on the PTA notification.
Alright. Got one in the feet.
40 Baker, we're going to need at least 2 more supervisors for
Officer
this
riding, I
officer,
guess.
12 officer transfer.
3 shotgun, 3 shooters.
540 Baker.
Disregard.
And 540 Baker, are you still on?
She got a seizure, so I'm her CNA.
Hey, we need another bus.
I'm her CNA though, but
Yep, I'm calling an ambulance.
Bus code, we got seizures. Bus
We got
10.
seizures in the car. She saw the shooting. Had a seizure.
So other people nearby having medical problems. Now, I've talked about before, you know, right after a shooting, someone needs to go to the backdrop of where the bad guy was and check and see if there was anyone hurt. They went back there with these people to check on them, and this is where they found out someone was having a seizure. Not the first thing I would have thought. After a shooting, you know, the kind of medical problems I would expect someone to be having after a shooting is another person possibly being shot. That's the worst case scenario right there, because sometimes people miss, and that happens in the law enforcement world. Should it happen? No, but it happens, and sometimes rounds are missed, and we have to check that backdrop area to make sure that no one else has been shot, and make sure that no one else is having some type of medical emergency. You know, this person is having a seizure after witnessing this. Someone who has some airway problems, you know, or anxiety problems. Someone could be back here freaking out, having an asthma attack or something like that, hyperventilating, having some issues from what they've seen. So always check the backdrop to the bad guy, check on other people, make sure no one else has been hurt.
¿Poso estás bien?
Baker, we're going to need a second medical for a party having.
Skip forward.
We'll do,
We need
All right. So from camera number 2.
Hands up. Put your hands up. Put your hands up. Put your hands in the air. Put your hands in the air.
Go right there. Don't reach for it. Did I reach for it?
No, put your hands in the air. Shots fired, shots fired.
Hands out, bud. Hands out, bud. Hands out to the side. I got hands. I got hands. I got hands. I got this hand. Get his fucking. I got his whole use of this. Get the fucking gun.
So this guy's getting all worked up. You know, I'm pretty sure it's him because he points and he says, "Somebody get the fucking gun." Understand that he's holding this one dude's hand down, but you know he could also go down to a knee, put his knee in this guy's wrist, and then get the gun himself. I think he's getting a little too. I won't say too worked up, but a little unnecessary. But you know, it's stressful. But hey, everyone else is putting gloves on, and I've always advocated, you know, you always put gloves on. This guy is obviously, like he's out. Like you can tell from the face, like this guy's out of the fight. I mean, it's not like he's gonna wake back up real soon and grab this gun. No need to piss your teammates off like that. But they're getting gloves on. This guy comes over here, and he gets the gun. No problem. And the guy who had his foot on there backs his foot away and still putting his gloves on. So I just thought that was unnecessary for him to act like that towards them. And again, as I noted earlier, he takes the gun and then drops it right there next to the guy's hand. not the best place to put it. And, you know, as I just said a while ago, like this guy looks like he's obviously out of the fight. Even then, now this guy, he himself could have very easily just taken the gun and taken it over to one of the vehicles and put it in the floorboard and secure it. And, you know, there's no need to scratch up a beautiful HK like that and sliding across the ground. You know, it's an HK. You need to take care of it. So the only thing I can think of while this is blurred is maybe the opening of his boxers. You can see his penis or something, because from the other guy's angle, nothing was blurred out. So you can see this knife. This guy with a knife, he's cutting towards this other officer. You see that herky-jerky movement.
I shot.
Boom, that right there.
3 shot.
I shot.
So that's unsafe in my opinion. I don't think a knife should be the first option to cut clothing off. Shears or a J-hook are the two best options for cutting clothing. Shears have been used for a long time. EMT shears you can buy some cheap ones, and they come in most first aid kits, or I wouldn't say first aid kits, most trauma kits. They're really good at cutting clothing. I mean, you could take a pair of EMT shears and cut a penny in half. I've seen it done before. They'll cut through belts and leather and stuff like that. They do great, and they're disposable. You can get them cheap enough where you can stash them in different stuff. If you get blood all over them, or you go cut through something thick and you kind of get them uneven, like an uneven pair of scissors that, you know, got a lot of play in them, you just throw them away and get another pair. One thing that I would say takes up less room, and I'm not saying that the shears are huge, but they are a certain shape and size, and they do take up, I guess, more space than something else. The company Leatherman makes a set of shears called the Raptor, I believe it is, and these shears kind of fold up, kind of like a multi-tool in a way, and they take up less of a footprint, but those are also more expensive. So aside from just regular EMT shears, there's a product from Benchmade called the J-hook, I want to say it's called, or it's possibly called the Rescue Hook. I can't remember which one, but it's basically a chunk of steel that the blade is in the shape of a J, and it's meant for cutting like seat belts and stuff like that. And if you're able to use this thing to cut through the thicker, more sturdier material of a seat belt, then surely, you know, you would have no problem cutting through a t-shirt. And I've used a J-hook before to cut through pants and cut through a t-shirt and cut through a sweatshirt before, and it worked great. All you got to do is grab that fabric, hook it with the J, and just drag it along, and it'll cut through that clothing no problem. And something like that you would be able to keep in your pocket. You'd be able to keep it stuffed down into a little pouch or pocket on a medical ankle holster, something like that, and it doesn't take up a whole lot of room. It's not very long and wide like a set of shears are, and it cuts really good. So shears and a cutting hook, in my opinion, are the two best things to use for cutting clothes off. You shouldn't rely on using a pocket knife to cut clothes. As you could see a while ago, there's a lot of movement in place, and it's just too much of a risk of causing more injuries to that person, or you're trying to rip it along and cut along, and you break through the fabric and then you slice yourself or you slice someone else. No need to cause more injuries than what's necessary. So they seem to have some pretty basic medical gear. These gloves that this guy's grabbing, these are actually good gloves to use for when dealing with blood, because the cuff on them go up a little bit higher. These gloves over here, even though they are medical grade gloves, they just don't go up high enough on the wrist. And when you saw from his camera footage earlier, he had a lot of blood on his wrist and forearm area. So you can get a good set of medical gloves off an ambulance and that have longer cuffs on them that go a little bit higher. So you can see that this one, so you can just see on his, well, they could go higher, but he doesn't have them higher. He has it rolled in there. But there's enough material that if he wanted to, he could pull this up and it'll go past his watch some. He just hasn't done it.
Punch his hand, punch his hand.
I don't see any occlusive dressings or anything like that. Seems like all they have is gauze pads. Something for a chest wound, you'd want an occlusive dressing to put over that. And this guy, as I said earlier when he was doing his last breathing, in my opinion, I think that was his last breaths he took, because you can start to see his lips turning cyanotic here. Yeah, they're doing a good job trying to stop the bleeding, but there's not really any excessive bleeding going on. Why is there not any excessive bleeding going on? Because I don't think the heart's pumping.
Here, I'll take this, you take tourniquet.
We're gonna have to get it as high as we can. It's up right in his fucking arm.
Now they're trying to put a tourniquet up here. Again, I don't see the need for putting a tourniquet on, because you just don't see a whole lot of blood coming out. Definitely not anything arterial.
Yep. Hey, Sarge, time to tourniquets. Give me some more gas. I'm trying to pack this leg. All right, man, stay with us, okay? Just so you know, Sarge, I got the, yep. There was
A pressure bandage is something, they could have put over the leg, but they don't have any pressure bandages. All they seem to have is this gauze. Gauze could work, but you need something to hold it in place, so there needs to be a roll of medical tape there. If they had medical tape, he could have put them out a strip right there and held it across, which gauze right there, I don't think is the best option for right now. Maybe an occlusive dressing for this wound, but definitely to be able to go hands-free, put some gauze down and put a strip of tape over top of it to keep it in place if you don't have a pressure bandage.
Hey, we got a faint pulse,
Or some type of bandage itself.
GSW wounds.
Not much else from this camera view here.
Roll to the right. We got a bullet in the back. Yep. We got one in the abdomen, one up here, one like right underneath the tourniquet. All right.
Can I get an officer riding, I guess?
Yes, you will.
Slide that down.
Alright, camera number 3. Now from the get-go, you don't see much from this because of the dashboard. You kind of see him right there, but you don't see a whole lot. He's kind of concealed by the dashboard and the A post right here. So this camera doesn't capture much from the initial point.
Yep. Dan, get his fucking. I got hands on home. You just gloves.
So, when we talk about the cardinal rules of firearm safety, where was this muzzle pointed when he was doing all this? It was pointing into traffic. I think the safest option for this would have been just take the gun as it is and go sit it in the floorboard of the vehicle, and then someone can mess with it later. I don't think that pointing the gun at traffic like this is the best option to do.
Hey, we get.
So here's a better view of him using this knife. You can just see how, yeah, he's cutting the shirt, but it's just a lot of unsafe swipes right there. And
Yeah, we can uncuff him.
Luckily, no one got cut here, but it's just a matter of time of doing it like that you're going to cut yourself or cut someone else. Now, what's another interesting thing is this woman out in the background.
Yeah, we can
She's
uncuff
getting
him.
all up and close, playing on her phone,
Another tourniquet?
recording everything that's going on.
Okay.
Nothing totally wrong with that.
Here, let me give me some of that girl.
We have First Amendment right here.
Yeah, he's got fucking
But
the intestines too. Starting to get some leakage out of that.
All right, when she takes his cuffs off,
Let's roll him back over.
Stand by.
All right.
I think people would learn their lesson a lot quicker about trying to get in the middle of things if the police would just start seizing phones as evidence. Oh, you recorded the whole crime scene on your phone? All right, we'll take that for evidence. I think that would make people stay the hell back.
Okay, handcuffs are off. We can roll.
Watch his head. Watch his head. Okay. Just so you know, Sarge, I got the.
hey, who's gonna ride?
Faint. This way.
The Denver District Attorney will review
So
the
yeah,
details.
not much else to see out of those videos. And not much else to say about the entire video from this point forward. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson with Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching.